Hi everybody. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit around what we've done at Direct Line around technology in recruitment. A number of different initiatives that we've done over the last 18 months that has had benefits in terms of not only cost efficiency but in terms of candidate experience, which is a key driver for it. So a little bit about me. I'm responsible for all the delivery functions across HR, so that includes recruitment, all your systems as well, learning, payroll, shared services, etc. And it's really good having recruitment in the same team as technology, so you get aligned as to what your solutions are. So that's one of the benefits first of all. A little bit about Direct Line. You've probably heard of Direct Line, you've probably not heard so much about Direct Line Group. So Direct Line Group is a group of insurance companies that we have, which is Direct Line. We've got Churchill. If you're observant, you'll notice that's the old Churchill logo. We launched one last week that was a proper dog on a skateboard, if you've seen the advert. We did have complaints that it was a real dog, but it wasn't. Let me reassure you on that. Green Flag, part of it as well. And then we've got some more commercial arms, which is Direct Line for Business, and NIG sits there as well, and some other smaller brands. Couple of interesting facts: 14.9 million in-force policies, so 1 in 4 cars on the road are insured by one of our brands. 1 claim every minute is registered, and we pay out about 2 billion in claims every year. So for every £1 we take, we pay out about 84p of that in claims to people. 11,000 staff, and we also fix a lot of cars as well. So we fix, it says 90,000, we fix about 100,000 cars every year in one of our repair centres, and that probably gives you an overview of the type of people we're recruiting. Predominantly we do call centre staff, but we could also be doing a deep thinking actuary, and then we could be doing a panel beta in the afternoon and them type of roles. Bit of a plotted history. We used to be, well, we were formed as part of when RBS owned us way back in 2008. Then we moved on to separation from RBS when they got government state aid. We became a FTSE 100 company in our own right in terms of that. And you can see 4 million in-force policies, so big numbers. We've just appointed a female CEO in the last couple of months, so we're one of the very few organisations who have 2 females now on our board, exec board. One of the things that we are known from in the olden days when we first set up is innovation. So if you think about Direct Line was the first company where you did insurance over the telephone. Previous to that, you'd have walked down to see a broker to do it. We missed the next revolution. The next revolution was price comparison websites, and that passed us by a little bit, and we went back in the market. We are very much seeing ourselves now as a digital organisation, and that's where we want to position ourselves, and that's one of the reasons why we've made a lot of our recruitment process digital to attract that type of population. So, recruitment, a little bit about recruitment. So we recruit around about 1,400 external people every year. In addition to that, we do around 1,400 internal hires. So I've got a team that are processing around about 3,500 hires every year when you add on secondments and backfill type roles. So big numbers. Apprenticeships, about 150 apprenticeships, and that could be anything from traditional blue collar in our accident repair centres right to customer facing staff, and more complex apprenticeships in things like pricing, etc. Graduates, we've gone in the last 4 years from recruiting about 60 graduates to around consistently 20 every year. Relatively difficult graduate scheme, so they're not they're rotational graduates that we move around the country over a 3-year period, from pricing one period to then could be HR, and we insist on our graduates do 6 months on calls, speaking to customers. That goes down well like anything. But it really does test your graduates in terms of, do they want a general management role, or do they want to just come into finance and work there for the rest of their life? So, technology. We've introduced a number of bits of technology. I'm going to talk to you about 3 or 4 pieces today that have had significant impact in the way that we do recruitment. Some of them was unexpected impact as well in a positive way. One of them, when we get to video interviewing, I was probably on the fence on that, whether it was beneficial, whether it wasn't beneficial. With some really great results that have come through for that we're rolling out even further now. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But whenever we've done technology, we've always thought about the improvement in experience rather than the cost saving element. Because I can save cost easily, but it's difficult to recruit the roles that we're recruiting for. We're recruiting for exactly the same roles that people are recruiting for: digital, data science, technology roles that everybody else wants. I don't have a central London office in Old Street to attract these people in Shoreditch, for example. I'm trying to get them in Bromley. That doesn't have the same appeal. Graduates, we send them to Doncaster, not Dubai. So again, it's not the great schemes that you'll be comparing us against, but that's who we're competing against. The aim was to make the recruitment process as flexible and accessible for our candidates as possible, whilst telling them a bit about the business. So if I went into a room and said I'd work in insurance, you'd expect me to be sort of, well, I am, old, grey, in a suit, etc. That's not what you see as part of Direct Line. That was what you see 8 years ago. That's not what you see now, and hopefully you'll see some of that come through here. But we need to get that story across to our candidates when they're applying. So, first one, showcasing the business. So we still do some job fairs when we're out there, particularly in the volume market. We don't do it in graduate world, we do online job fairs for graduates, but in the volume market they are still applicable in some areas, and we still do open evenings whereby we might open one of our centres and ask people to come and talk about what it's like in the job. Yeah. So at job fairs and events, we wanted to give candidates an insight into DLG before they apply. If you go back traditionally, you'd have a job fair, loads of pens. We might even put some nodding dogs there for Churchill. They'd be gone in the first hour and a half. Yeah? And the pens would probably break in the first couple of days that you use them and end up in landfill somewhere. So from an environment point of view as well, we wanted to do something different in terms of that. So with the use of technology, we wanted to stand out from where we were, and we wanted to showcase our culture as well, to tell people a little bit around what Direct Line is all about and how it is different to what you would expect an insurance company to be. So we created a virtual reality unit, 360 experience of Direct Line. So we have created a stand where you would come up to our stand, you'd put Google glasses on, and we videoed one of our offices, which was Bristol, which was our new office, and we just put some fun types in there. So we had Churchill dog running around, we had people doing loads of charity events, because that's what we do. Yeah, that's what it is. There's no point in me telling you what it's like to work in a call centre, because if that's going to be sitting at a desk taking calls, yeah, I can tell you that. That's not going to really engage you. I need to tell you why Direct Line is different to Sainsbury's call centre, Marks and Spencer's call centre, and that's our culture, and that's what we were trying to talk through. So we filmed in our office in Bristol, highlighted our brand, so you can see some pictures there of people with the Google headset on. Business culture we talked about rather than the type of stuff we do. And then at the end of it, candidates completed a quiz, and rather than spend loads of money on pens and furry animals, we give an iPad away at the end of the day that's cost, I mean, you know what an iPad costs, it costs less than shipping loads of pens, etc. there. And part of entering that competition means that they need to enter their name, address, email address, which obviously what I want from future marketing around jobs. So, so what we've done there is we've gone away from the experience of let's take your name on a bit of paper and fill in this form and then we'll contact you, to much more experiential in the way that it is. We get a queue of people waiting to do that. Yeah, at the job fairs. Bear in mind the type of people that we're attracting to call centres will be traditionally 19, 20, 21-year-olds, first jobbers, second jobbers, etc. Queue of people lined up, ready to do that. Whereas the other stand, what you see is they'll wander around, keep picking things up, and just going around in a circle. Been nominated for a couple of awards in it, but that's not what it was for. It was for to get people nominated. On average, we probably collect 50% more names than what we did in previous job fairs just by doing that. We've used it at other things, so we've used it even in our front offices of all our call centres now, just to engage with our staff, to tell them what the employee culture is like as well. You'd be surprised as well, the perception that it's only young people that want to do this. Everybody will queue up and do it. Even if they do it for a couple of minutes, they'll do it just to see what the culture is. And it's fun. There's literally just people messing around, chucking water at each other in the thing. But that's what the culture is like. It's meant to be fun, engaging, etc. Apprenticeships. Everybody is out in the market trying to get apprenticeships. When we put an advert out for Direct Line, last couple of years, we've got ample applications to fill all our 150 roles without the need to go to agency or support. So in terms of context, we fill around 80% of our roles completely in-house now, rather than use agencies, and the 20% where you use agencies are really niche skill sets that you have to go to a specialist agency for. So in terms of apprenticeship, the challenge was to show teenagers who we were and why we should consider an apprenticeship with Direct Line, bearing in mind there's loads of companies now in that market given the apprenticeship levy, etc. We knew that 16-year-olds were heavily reliant on their mobile phones, and gaming was one of their top skills that they enjoyed playing. So we worked with in-app mobile developer to give us a game that apprentice would want to play. And it's really, really surprising when you start to see some of the stats that this game generated. And bear in mind, this isn't just recruitment, it's also brand awareness for us as well. So when you think about 1 in 4 are insured by us, we need to tell them type of people what their insurance is like as well. So type of apps used weekly by kids, just a little bit of information there. 74% of them are on social network, 40% are on TV and entertainment, 50% video, 55% every week are on gaming. So you can show the population of people we were trying to access. So game concept was really simple. It was matching pairs. We've all played it, yeah, and it was a really simple game aimed at children just leaving school who wanted to have fun. It was an in-game app, so it would generate an advert when they were playing another game. It gets a bit technical here, so I don't quite know how it worked, but it worked. And you can see it's just matching the dogs, the NIG sign. So it gave them a little information about Direct Line as well, and the brand. I mean, bear in mind this is a small advert trying to recruit apprentice for us, and we had 150 vacancies, and we spent around about 35,000 on this, yes, so not a huge amount of money to recruit this, and this will be used now year in, year out. Any idea how many downloads we had? 500,000. 500,000 downloads, yeah. And 92% of the ones that downloaded it completed it. And bear in mind, when someone downloads it, you get the cookies, the details of their PC. So again, we're getting names and details of people to warrant. Click-through rate after completing it was around 8% as well. That was the highest the organisation have ever seen in any of their games that they've launched. And it's just simple. It's not a difficult game. There's no prize at the end of it. The only prize is a leadership board, yeah, and you get a time for completing. And you'll be surprised how many people go and do it again and again and again to try and beat their time. But that's the concept of all the games that are out there now as to how you can beat it. And it's so simple now, we can take it down and put it back out with different logos on as and when we want, or different patterns on, or different words on, that will just play to a different market. If you want to play it, you'll find it under the apprenticeship link on our career site. But careful, we'll be contacting you for a job after that. So graduates, again, we don't do careers fairs at universities because I believe they're a thing of the past. If I put a career fair in one of my stands next to the likes of, I mean, even RBS, Barclays, KPMG, PwC, yeah, I'm not going to compete with what they can offer. I need to accept that. Yeah, we're looking for a different type of person, a different type of individual that we're out there for. So again, we've gone into gamified assessment with this. We've been doing this over the last 3 years now. We tested it first time, so we didn't quite believe it would work. So we did traditional assessment in addition to gamified assessment. You can see the measures that we had up there. So this game tests more than what a normal psychometric test can test. So it will test things like your emotion, your agility, your thinking style, your delivering results, and it will give you a score against it. And it's really simple, some of it. So some of it is like you will see a balloon keep blowing up, and you have to tell it when to stop blowing up before it bursts. And it will keep blowing up, and then if it blows up, another one will come. If it doesn't blow up, then you stop it, and another will come. And that will keep going until it has a score for you. Yeah? And if you think about the business we're in, risk, yeah? So it will test your propensity to accept risk. Are you too risky? Are you very risk adverse as well? Because if you never blow up a balloon, do we really want you working with us? Because you'll avoid every risk that is out there. And that test will give you more insights into somebody than, and I mean, there's other parts of it, but they're all that type of, they're all games, will give you more insights than a normal psychometric test will do. And if you think, I mean, who's done a psychometric test on paper? Yeah? Normally a question that says, do you like working with teams? Probably know the answer to that, don't we? Yeah? This you won't know when you're being tested and what's being assessed on you. And we did it exactly the way you would normally do any psychometric test. So we built it out first off on our talent population internal. We test their scores. So it's the same principle as what you do. We test the scores internally. We work out that's the target population, and then we test the scores externally with our graduates as we start to bring them in. As we're now getting to the end of our first rotational year, 3-year rotational period, the people that scored the highest on this are our top performing graduates. So you could argue it's more valid than a face-to-face interview as well on some of the assessments. Challenge for us, and it will be a challenge, is how we develop it to something else now, because once you've used it 2 or 3 years, there'll be enough on Glassdoor and Indeed about how to deal with it, etc. So the challenge will be about how we develop it. So a little bit about the game there. Our game-based assessment is called Sunrise City. Again, it's on the Google Store, Apple Store, if you wanted to see it. It consists of 9 personality levels and 2 aptitude tests, and it tests them that. And the suitability of the candidates was measured against our own competency requirements, which I said, and the fit score is normalised for age, sex, ethnicity, etc. Video interviewing. So this is probably not new. So we did it slightly differently. We didn't do video interviewing, we did actually video assessment. So by this I mean we put standard questions out on a video where someone has to record the answer and send it back to us. And this was the one I was a bit on the fence about. So I've been, should we do it, should we not do it, probably for the last 2 years. And I've always wanted to, if we're going to do it, we need to do it right rather than just stick it out there, because everyone was doing video interviewing because everyone else was doing it rather than what you're trying to get from it. So we did a pilot in volume predominantly because that's where our big recruitment demand is. And we did it in a fun way. So we didn't actually get anyone to record the questions for us or the culture for us. We did it ourselves on an iPhone. And the purpose of that is we wanted the video to be a bit grungy rather than professional, because that's the type of organisation we are. So if you come to work with us, you're not going to have a big expense pot to do loads of stuff around this. You're going to have to work with what you've got and the tools you've got. So we tried to do it in a fun way. Everyone on the video is our own employee doing the questions and talking about what it's like to work here. Candidates then record the answers. There's a couple of practice ones for them. They record the answers and send that back to us. A couple of things. So we used to do telephone interviews before this, and we still offer telephone interviews, but it's interestingly a couple of perceptions that we can wipe away with this. So telephone interviews, we used to do about 2 an hour, and on average around 25% of the people didn't turn up for telephone interviews, and I'm sure you'll all be aware of that. When you get into the volume world, it gets even more, the higher percentage of people don't turn up. Yeah? So whereas one of my team could do about 2, maybe 3 interviews an hour at most on the telephone, they can do 8 to 9 video interviews on the hour. With a video interview as well, when you know it's going really badly, you can stop it. Yeah? You don't need to continue. You can't do that on the telephone interview. So you can just cut it. And even when it's great in the first 5 minutes of the interview, you can stop it then as well and take them to the next round. You don't need to watch the next 10 minutes of it, because normally you get a really good feel of it. So download the app. The interview can be completed on a mobile device or computer. Ratio to application to offer has stayed exactly the same. So we've not suffered as a result of that. Interestingly, the stickiness of candidates throughout the process has increased. So around 20% increase on people staying within the process. I actually don't know why that is. I can imagine it maybe that it's a bit more effort to do the video interview than it is telephone interview, so you might be a bit more engaged in the organisation. It might also be that we tell you more about what it's like to work at Direct Line, so you are more likely to want to stay and work for that organisation. But we are definitely seeing that. Also, I guess you're all probably sitting there with the perception of the younger people will want to do it, but the older people won't. We've not had any negative feedback from older population doing it. You get them doing it, no issues. I think we've done this now for around about 12, probably about a year now we're coming up to, and we've had 1 candidate refuse to do it. and we've taken them through a telephone interview. So it's not big numbers at all with what you would expect to decline. But if you look at efficiency, is great. Candidate experience, I said, was always paramount on this. We get an average of 4.2 out of 5 because they give us a star rating at the end of it. So again, they're enjoying it. I quite often go and see our induction workshops once they've talked about it. You get mixed emotions. Yeah, you're going to get people that side of the room say they loved it. People that side of the room said they hate it. It was really difficult. But if I asked them what a telephone interview was like, you'll have people that side saying it was okay and people that side saying it was difficult. Same with face-to-face, same with assessment. So the quality that, if I look back and the quality that's coming through, the experience is as equal or better than where we were before. So for us, it's a win. And in fact, we're now rolling this out to more of our roles. So we're rolling out to more of the specialist roles in terms of digital and technology, where it probably plays into more than volume, actually. So in summary, technology has really benefited us in terms of where we have been and where we want to go to. We don't think this is the end of it. We think there's more around to do on assessment. So we think there's a need to do more gamification assessment in terms of our core population, not just our graduates and apprenticeships, because we just think that's how you're going to have to engage with people going forward. If you go back 20 years ago, you had the newspaper advert, then you went online. They're dying a death now. People are fed up of seeing them. So how do you get programmatic through Facebook, through Instagram, really driving candidate engagement and getting the passive candidates? And we think that online assessment, online gamification is going to be the way to do that. So we've used technology to benefit the candidate experience. I think that's the message I want to get from this, not to drive efficiencies, although obviously there is efficiencies at the back end of it. So that's a quick whistle-stop tour of what we've done. Questions?
Excellent. Yeah, thank you very much, Jason. Thank you.